I know that the Ministry of Agriculture has consistently preached mechanized farming,
Yes.
turning it commercial and trying to encourage rural area to also adopt this. But for some reason, it hasn't really trickled down as much as would like it for to happen. And that's one of the things the president also talked about, the fact that we should see a revival in the agricultural sector. Not that there hasn't been anything done in that sector,
Yes.
but we need to see a revival, a revolution.
We agree that the progress made in the last 2 years or thereabout are far better than what we have had in the past. The progress within the last 2 years.
Well,
so we can increase on that, and multiply.
I want to just make a comment on infrastructure and skilled and unskilled labor. And I think there's a need for us to understand what we're talking about clearly within the context of the Nigerian society. I'm not sure what will really bring about this change we're talking about is in putting finances in place and putting processes in place. I think the place to start from is the thinking and the mentality of the people you want to take on and engage. I am a graduate, and all through my growing up years, it's been about go to school, graduate, and make money. Through primary, through secondary, my family, everybody's got expectations from me. Get out of school, get a job, and make money. So I am not looking for unemployment because I want to build value or add value or because I love the job. I want to earn a living. So no matter the structure you put in place, no matter the infrastructure we put in place, if our mindset and mentality is not such that connects with the reality of the fact that we need to be value builders and value creators, we'll still have a lot of struggle. Quite a number of people have been helped, have been enhanced, have been funded to start all kinds of businesses and even trained. But after a year, after 2 years, the whole thing goes down the drain. It's a mentality. And that's where I think we need to begin to work on. And that's why I keep emphasizing the fact that it's a new season of change that must start with our individuality and our thinking. If you give me the infrastructure, you give me the opportunity, and my thinking is not appropriate, I'm not thinking like a Nigerian that wants to build value, I'm thinking like a Nigerian that wants to just make money to impress and oppress and spend lavishly, I don't think we'll make any progress. The government may put things in place, but if the people are unwilling to drive change in their thinking, their behaviors, their character, and their passion, we'll still be at the very beginning of this whole crisis.
Tunji, what do you think?
I think President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes. It's going to take some time to get used to it.
I think President Muhammadu Buhari expressed what he said because we need to understand something. It's what he's talking about is a long-term reorientation process. It's an ongoing process. We will do it. We will start now. We will continue to do it for the next 10 years, 20 years, even forever possibly. But the low-hanging fruits right now is we need to get people to work. We need to get people to work. And if you read the APC's manifesto, it's talking about going from peasant farming to mechanized farming. So instead of the way it was done before, which was funding mechanized farming, which was not really yielding any fruit. So what they're trying to do is looking at peasant farming and saying, okay, let's fund this area of the farming subsector and see if it can grow. If possibly those peasant farmers can grow to be the mechanized ones later in the future. So I think that is a fantastic idea, because if you create jobs there, it actually feeds an immediate problem that is already staring us in the face. Because, I mean, we're all here in the city. A lot of people are trying to get better jobs. Some people are on the street selling pure water and things like that. If they find out that if I go back to the village and I can have a farm, and so from what the APC says, there's this scheme they're looking at doing. If you farm, we'll buy. I mean, if they know that once I can farm and produce, the government is going to pay for it, why do I have to stay in the city?
The question will be, when they buy, what would it be used for?
The government is talking about creating storage facilities, trying to create a more centralized distribution system to get to the markets. I mean, if the APC manifesto is fantastic. It's very left of center, which I'm not particularly in agreement with. I'm true capitalist. But I think it's what Nigeria needs right now, because we have a lot of poor people. We need to pull a lot of people out of poverty. I mean, the last figures we had was speaking about between 70 and 80% poor people in Nigeria, which is very high. So we need to move desperate measures to pull these people out of poverty. And the quickest way we can do that is agriculture.
But
funded from the peasant level.
Sorry, Tunji, to cut you there, but talking about, revamping the economy, so much focus on the government doing it, and not so much talk about how the private sector can be brought in to partner and grow the economy, because everybody knows everywhere across the world that the private sector that grows the economy.
But here again, like I said, it looked like Barry was saying in his speech. Everything you're not hearing, go to the manifesto, you will see it in there. Because in the manifesto, it also speaks about public-private partnerships. Because one of the biggest issues is infrastructure. And the quickest way any government across the world can fix it, especially when you have revenue shortages like we do, is to bring in the private sector and say, okay, you guys do it, run it for a number of years, you can get your money back via it. But we've not had a good history of public-private partnerships. We see that with Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, we see that with MM2, we see that with the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway. We've not really had a good history. But I think if they can create a new model to say, okay, this can work, because we need to spend a lot of money on infrastructure. China, in the last 30, 40 years, has spent close to, I think, 10 times our national budget on infrastructure alone. I'm not talking about healthcare, just infrastructure, building railway, building bridges. All those things are connected so that somebody can live in Ogun State, where it's cheaper to actually buy, rent an apartment, and still work in VI. And all he needs to do is just get on the train at a very good time and get to work at the time where somebody that lives very close to the office also gets to. So until we're able to do that, I mean, the country still has a long way to go. And I know that the private sector is the way to go, but we need to create a working model, because the private sector is ready, but since it's not worked, they are still holding their money close to their chest, saying, we need to see your plan and see how we can fit in.
About the private sector being ready, I keep questioning that assumption. Are we truly ready? Because you see, there's no nation in this world that is perfect. And when we begin to talk about the government's investment in different parts of the world into making things work in terms of infrastructure, building, and all that stuff, you will also realize that there's been a lot of investment in national orientation, the thinking of the people. I am so persuaded that one aspect of our nationhood that needs immediate attention and address is the way we think as Nigerians. And that is why it is very critical for us to begin to look at the thinking of a typical Nigerian, because when we talk about, okay, this has been put in place, that has been put in place, you will just see a typical Nigerian looking for how to bend the rules, looking for how to sabotage what has been put in place. We are not naturally, from experience, we're not naturally conformers when it comes to this is how to do things. We will look for opportunities to sabotage the process, to take advantage of where the loopholes are, and I think that's been what our issue has been for so many years. We need to begin to love this country. We need to begin to appreciate this country. And I think in the ability to deliver our expectations as a nation, our mindset is critical, our thinking is critical, then it will be worth it for the government to support that with the structure and infrastructure that is required for delivery. The mindset is
I'll say infrastructure first. I'll say infrastructure first.
No, it's about the same. You know, you can't leave one and keep investing, because this has been done, government after government, so much has been invested. But I'm not
on infrastructure.
There's been a lot of investment.
Hold on. The president said something, Mr. Additional, you take this up. He said something about the fact that the dream of the fathers. He talked about the fathers, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Herbert Macaulay, and all of that. And then he talked about the fact that some of their descendants, children, treat the dream with...
they acted like children.
They act, okay, some of their descendants act like sports children, destroying the infrastructure, not even looking at the dream. That ties to what he was saying. Mr. Additional, attitude and thinking of the Nigerian, even when the government begins to put things in place, it's the mindset of the Nigerian ready.
The way I would like to look at it is this. I'm not a social commentator. It is the duty of government to provide infrastructures. In any nation, you find both the conformist and the non-conformist. And that is why the law is there to regulate the conduct of the non-conformists. You always find them anywhere. So here, I would like to tie that issue to the maintenance of law and order in this country. So when we enforce our laws and maintain order, things will work out. The attitudes are regulated by law. And that is why everybody is talking about impunity, arbitrariness, you know, absolutism, both in public and in private sector. But the law is there. So this government must pay pivotal attention, strategic attention to the enforcement of our laws. The laws are there in the statute books. And that's why I was also very happy when he talked about the judiciary. Even the judiciary itself, my immediate constituency, needs a lot of reinvigoration.